we are looking at Chapter 3, Lesson 8. We are going to divide decimals by decimals. All right, so we want to predict two things that you will learn about dividing decimals by decimals. So here are the two things we're going to talk about. We are going to learn how to change the divisor to a whole number by moving the decimal point. You should write this down. And you are going to learn how to annex the zeros in the quotient and the dividend when necessary. So today we're going to divide by decimals. Now it says, when dividing decimals, change the divisor into a whole number. And it says to do this, you're going to multiply by both the divisor and the dividend by the same power of 10. Then divide as whole numbers. So in other words, that means that you are going to move the decimal in the divisor to the right until it becomes a whole number. Okay? Until it becomes a whole number. And since you've moved the decimal in the divisor, you have to move the decimal in the dividend the same number of places. Okay? So, all right. So you're going to move the decimal in the divisor to the right until it becomes a whole number. Then you will move the decimal the same number of times in the dividend. Okay? Now when you move the decimal, if you move the decimal to the right once, anybody know what that means? That means that we are, no, yes, that means we are multiplying. Very good. See it says up here, multiply both the divisor and dividend by the same power of 10. So, if you are moving the decimal to the right one time, that means that you are multiplying times 10. What if you move the decimal twice? What are you multiplying by? By 100. If you move the decimal 3 times to the right, what are you multiplying by? 1,000. Very good. So, in the first example here, it says we want to find 1.71 divided by 0.9. 1 and 71 hundredths divided by 9 tenths. So when we do that, the dividend, the one that goes inside the house, right, is 1.71. The divisor, 9 tenths, goes on the outside of the house, right? So, when we do this, here's how we set it up right there. And now, we move the decimal. Does everybody see in the divisor, we move the decimal to the right once. That means you multiply times 10. So if I move the decimal once to the right in the divisor, then that means I have to move it once in the dividend. Is everybody clear with that? And then, to place your decimal in your answer, you just bring it straight up. Okay? So, when you bring that decimal straight up, it's going to go right there in your answer. You got it? And then once you bring it straight up, then you will divide like normal. All right, for example 2, we have 264 divided by 0.6. 2 and 64 hundredths divided by 6 tenths. You have to write this in your spiral, okay? All right, so how many times do I have to move the decimal in the divisor? Once, okay? We're moving the decimal once in the divisor, which means how many times do we multiply by? 1. We only moved it once, so we multiply times 10. Very good. Okay? So if I multiply times 10 in the divisor, what do I have to multiply by in the dividend? 10. So it has to be the same, right? Which means we're also moving the decimal to the right once in the dividend. And then you're going to bring the decimal straight up. And that's where your decimal is going to be in the answer. Is Is it right here? All right. So now we divide like normal. I'm going to write it over here so I can make it a little bigger for me. So this is going to be, so now we divide like normal, right? Okay. So how many times does 6 go into 26? 4. 4 times. So, yep, 6 times 4 is 24. Multiply. And then we subtract. 2. So that's 2. And then we bring down the 4. How many times does 6 go into 24? 4 times. So 4 times 6 is 24. And there is our remainder. Here we have zeros in the quotient and dividend. Okay? So we want to line up the numbers by place value as you divide. You will annex the zeros in the quotient in order to keep the digits with the correct place value. Okay? So if you say that you have to move the decimal 3 times but you don't have enough in the dividend, then you have to add some zeros. That's what that means. Is everybody clear? So make sure you write that down. All right, so for example 3, it says find 52 divided by 0.4. So which one goes on the outside of the house? 0.4. Very good. Did you get that? Did you get that? Okay. So here we have the 52, and maybe I'll rewrite it out here. We have 52 divided by 0.4. Now, how many times do I have to move that decimal in the divisor to make it into a whole number? How many? 1 time, right? So you move it once in the divisor. So that means I have to move it once in the dividend. Where is the decimal in the dividend right now? It's at the end, right? It's all the way right here. So I have to move it 1 time to the right. No, because how many times did I move it in the divisor? Once. So that means I have to move it the same number of times in the dividend. But I have no numbers here. What do I got to do? Annex the 0. Very good. So right here, you're going to add another 0. And then, where am I going to place my decimal? Straight up. Right? Straight up. So my decimal is still going to be at the end. I'm going to end up with a whole number. Right? So, how many times does 4 go into 5? 1 time. Well, I'll do the one. Okay. 1 time. So 1 times 4 is 4. Then we subtract and bring down the 2. How many times does 4 go into 12? 3. 3. Good. So 3 times 4 is 12. Subtract. Bring down the 0. Yes, we have to keep on going. How many times does 4 go into 0? 0. 0 times. Okay. 0 times, so we're going to put a 0 up there, right? So 0 times 4 is 0, and there's our final no remainder. Is everybody clear? Yep. All right. So the next example, we have 9,000 divided by 18 hundredths. Now, in this example, we're moving that decimal 2 places to the right. So because I move it 2 places to the right in the divisor, I have to move the decimal 2 places to the right in the dividend. Right? And then you're just going to take that decimal and move it straight up. And then you just divide like normal. Is everybody clear with that? Now, when we divide, look at this division, okay? So, 18 cannot go into 9, right? 18 does not go into 9, so there you have to put your 0. Is everybody with me? So 0 times 18 is 0. we subtract and then bring down that 9. Oh, I put the 0 in the wrong place. We have to put this 0. So 0 times 18, that's 0. We subtract and then bring down the 9. Say that with me? Then 18 cannot go into 9 again, so we put another 0. Okay? 0 times 18 is 0, and then we subtract, we get 9. And then we have to bring down the 0. 18 into 90 is 5. And now 18 times 5 is 90, and we have no remainder. Is everybody clear? We have 11.2, or 11 and 2/10, divided by 0.07, divided by 700. Now, how many times am I going to move that decimal? How many times am I going to move the decimal?
2 times.
2 times, right? 1, 2. So how many times do I have to move it in the dividend? 2 times. 1, 2. What do I do with that blank?
Put a 0.
Put a 0. Very good. So now we can bring our decimal straight up, and we can continue dividing like normal. Is everybody clear?